had two very traumatic burnout situations that did lead to huge breakthroughs for me. But what I know for absolute sure is avoiding a burnout takes a lot less time than recovering from a burnout. So today I'm going to share with you what my burnouts were, the lead up to them, the symptoms that I experienced, how I recovered from them, and also the breakthroughs that they gave me. Because I do believe that you don't actually need to have a burnout to have a huge breakthrough. If you're tuning into your body and tuning into what it is that's going on in your life and around you, you can actually avoid the burnout and still get the breakthrough. So that's my goal for myself. And that's my goal for you, to be able to have the breakthrough without the burnout. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some easy tips on how to recognize the signs that burnout might be coming and things that you can proactively do to avoid burnout. Burnout looks very different for everybody. For one person, it can be a feeling of exhaustion and more emotional, more mental. For me, it's physical. So my burnouts happened very physically. They were very physically traumatizing, and my body literally pretty much was ready to explode. And that's how I knew that I was in burnout, because my body had reached breaking point and my body physically reacted. But burnout can be very subtle. It can be more like I say, more emotive, more mental, or it can be really physical. So what I'm going to share with you now, it's not like a one size fits all. Your symptoms might be completely different to what I had. But hopefully if you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed, or if you've recently suffered a burnout, this video will help you in some way to heal and move forward and hopefully avoid a burnout going forward. So the first burnout I had was back when I was in the corporate world. I was in a very, very stressful, high-pressured international marketing role. The company that I was with had undergone years of restructuring. I personally had survived about 4 years straight of redundancies and reorganization, and the general feel of the company and the marketing department that I worked in was not good. Everyone was on edge, everyone was scared they were going to lose their jobs, everyone felt like they had to compete to keep their jobs, everyone was thinking there was a conspiracy. I mean, the environment was just awful. On top of that, I was doing such a huge volume of work, both internationally and in the UK. When I left that company, they had to hire 3 people to replace me eventually. That gives you an indication of the level of pressure I was under from a work perspective, but then also there was this added redundancy, restructuring energy that gave real emotional and mental stress as well. So that first burnout, I knew it was coming on both of them. I knew it was coming, but for some reason, I didn't heed the warning signs. And I suppose that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, is to explain how debilitating burnout can be, and that it's so much better to avoid it than just let it happen. So my first burnout, for months before, I had such physical symptoms. My hair started falling out. I was getting really weird smells in my nose, like I would smell like sulfur or electrics or like burning smells in my nose. I was having palpitations all the time. My heart was beating really fast. I wasn't sleeping. I was in fight or flight constantly. I always thought my ego was in full alert. I thought everything that everyone was talking about was about me. I was triggered by everything. I was emotional. I was like physically, mentally, and emotionally losing it, basically. But those physical symptoms were very, very real. And those are the things that I was actually worried about. Now, unfortunately, at that time, I felt wrongly that I couldn't take a break or else I might lose my job. I literally felt like if I hold my hand up and say, I'm suffering mentally, physically, and emotionally, my neck would be on the block for the next round of redundancies. That's how I felt. So I felt like I couldn't take time off, which was ridiculous, because your health, your mental health, and your physical health always comes first before any job. At the end of the day, right? That was just a job I had. That was just a job. I left that job in 2010, and that company is still going. They're not mourning the loss of me, but I lost something for that job. So the fact of the matter is, I didn't pay attention to the signs. I kept pushing myself. I kept working extraordinarily long hours delivering everything, functioning under this really heightened state of fight or flight, of this really messed up nervous system being triggered all the time. And what eventually happened is I had a hemorrhage in my right eye. It happened on a weekend. I was just outside in the garden doing some sort of gardening chores, and all of a sudden I felt really unwell. I just felt this wave of really unwell, and I smelled strong burning in my nose. And the only way I can describe it is all of a sudden a veil went down over both of my eyes. Like I felt like I couldn't see out of both of my eyes. Like this grey veil went down over my eyes. Went into the lounge, said to my husband, something's wrong. I've come across unwell. I feel unwell. Anyway, so he was like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know. I've like my eyes gone all fuzzy and I just feel a bit funny and whatever. So I just sat there for like 10 minutes and I was like, oh, actually, I feel better now. So I got up and went back outside and started working in the garden again. So I went back outside, started working in the garden again, and within literally 10 minutes, it was like this explosion had happened inside my brain. I thought I was having a stroke. That's the God's honest truth. I thought I was having a stroke. I completely lost the sight in my right eye. I felt tingles and shivers everywhere, the smell of burning. My brain just kind of felt like it was fizzing, like I was confused, I was panicked. I went inside and said to my husband, I need to go to the emergency room immediately. Something really bad's happening. I don't know if I'm having a stroke. My head just felt so tight and so hot, and my sight was basically not gone. In my right eye, it might have been completely gone, but there was definitely a veil over my left eye as well, so my sight was not good. Rushed to the emergency room, got in to see someone, and essentially what had happened was I'd had a hemorrhage behind my right eye. I was literally an inpatient in hospital, in and out of hospital for 6 months after that, having various tests, being monitored, and what essentially happened was I had this hemorrhage right in the literal center of the back of my eye, which caused macular damage. So the macular sight that you have is literally the central vision of you have peripheral sight and macular sight. And I lost all macular vision in my right eye. So I could see the periphery. It was so weird. I could see the periphery, but in the center of my vision was a black spot. And I couldn't see around. I felt like I was doing this to kind of see around this black spot that was in the center of my vision. Went to loads and loads of tests, ended up going for a private consultation as well. They tested all of my arteries and things just to make sure there was nothing else going on. And essentially, there was no cause for it. And I knew it happened because I was burnt out. And they basically ended up saying that I would never recover the sight in my right eye, that it would be gone forever. And what a wake-up call that was. I realized that I had allowed this, what was just a job, like it was my career, I was so passionate about it, it meant so much to me, it was just the job, and I'd literally lost the sight in my right eye for the sake of this flipping job. I look back and I'm like, oh my God, why did I do so silly? But if you're in the corporate world, maybe you can relate that you feel like you can't step off the hamster wheel. It's really, really challenging to do. So even then, I didn't take a huge amount of time off. I took a little bit of time off just to recover because I literally couldn't see. And they were doing loads of tests on my eyes all the time. So I had to have a little bit of time off, but literally like a week. I took like a week off. And then I just went straight back to work like this, not being able to see, feeling sick all the time because my balance was really off. Now, that happened in 2010. So now we're in 2024, so 14 years ago. And even now, so my eye has actually healed a lot more than they thought it would. But even now, I have like a blurry grey spot in my central vision. So it's still there, like I still can't 100% see through my right eye. Soon after that, that was also the year I was getting married, by the way, 2010. So I went back to work, realized I can't keep doing this. This is crazy. And so I handed in my notice, but I got another job somewhere else at a smaller firm, handed in my notice, left there as Sally Robinson. I went and got married and then joined my new firm. But literally as well, the other thing that I did that was really silly was I actually didn't give myself any time off in between the two jobs. I literally left the one job on Friday and went to my new job on Monday. But I didn't really give myself time to recover after that first burnout, is what I'm saying. I literally went from one job to the next. And I think personally that that burnout took me about 4 years to really recover from, two to 4 years to really recover from, that I wasn't quite up to my usual speed for a long time after. And I know that's because I didn't give myself time to recover. So that was the first burnout that I had. Literally lost the sight in my right eye. And my big breakthrough was the corporate world is no longer for me. I just don't want to be here anymore. I am done with the corporate world. But like I said, at that stage, what I did was I left and went to a much smaller firm. And actually, I was only there for about a year and a half when I left to set up my own business. Because when I went to the new firm, I realized this is just the same old stuff and I need to get out of here completely. And then I left and started my own business. That was my first burnout. So there were physical signs that all was not well. My hair was falling out. I was having the smells in my nose. I was having palpitations, just in constant fight or flight. So if you're feeling that way, a burnout could be on its way down the tracks. And sort of towards the end of this video, I'm going to give some ideas and tips of things that you can do, even if you think you don't have time, some things that you can actually do to help yourself regulate enough so that the burnout doesn't come, because that's what we're aiming for. So the second burnout, I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I had two. I should have learned my lesson from the first one, but there you go. I've got to obviously learn things twice. My second burnout came literally just last year. So I'm filming this in October 2024, and my second burnout was in September of 2023. I'd already had my own business since 2012. So I've been in my own business for a long time and obviously been working a lot and working really hard and putting a lot of pressure on myself. But what actually caused the burnout was I made Business Mentor. And before 2023, I'd done a lot of one-to-many group work. I had a group coaching program, like a group mentoring program. I was doing some one-to-one, but the majority of my client base was one-to-many. So I was running courses and I was teaching a lot of people with limited one-to-one time. But I had always been working towards this being a fully booked coach. If you're a coach or in the coaching world at all, you'll know that being a fully booked coach is something that a lot of people kind of aspire to. I fell into the trap of aspiring to it. Unbeknownst to me, it wasn't for me. But in 2023, I essentially had a fully booked year. And what that really meant was I had back-to-back one-to-one mentoring clients pretty much for about 10 months of the year. So I was doing 9 one-to-one 90-minute sessions a week in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And because I'm a marketing and business mentor, I was also doing a lot of work for my clients outside of those hours. So I was literally like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I would be starting work at like 6 a.m. and finishing at like 9:30, 10, because a lot of my clients were overseas as well, like in the States and stuff. So I was working very, very long hours. What that meant for me was that for 10 months straight, I didn't get a break. I was constantly either preparing for sessions, having sessions, or debriefing from sessions. So 2023 was actually one of my most profitable business years ever. I think it might have been my second most profitable business year ever. But ultimately what happened was, and again, I saw the signs, but I felt like I was on this fast moving hamster wheel and I couldn't get off because I had all these people depending on me. I had all of these clients. I couldn't just cancel sessions and take time off. That's what I was telling myself, so I didn't. But the signs for that burnout were I started losing my ability to speak. I know, I had the sign, but I didn't do anything about it. So for a number of weeks leading up to that burnout, the back of my brain actually felt hot and tight, and I couldn't always find the words. So you know how sometimes you'll say something in your head first and then say, I couldn't even confidently get the words to form in my head and I couldn't get them to form when I was speaking either. So that added a lot of pressure to my one-to-one mentoring sessions because I began to be fearful that I wasn't going to be able to comprehend what they were saying or speak. I mean, honestly, I'd feel a bit confused. My brain was just over stimulated basically. So things were just going zzz again. My brain was like, no, this is too much. Physical symptoms, fight or flight. I wasn't sleeping at all. I was just stimulated all the time, on heightened alert all the time. I felt absolutely exhausted, but I wasn't resting. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't resting. I was working like 7 days a week, and it was just too much. So what happened was, so this is like disturbing. So I was having a session with a client late on an evening, and all of a sudden it just felt like my heart dropped in my chest. My heart dropped in my chest, and then it went boom, 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 and then it just started beating really, really hard and really, really fast. And I was like, oof. And I was obviously on the line, on a Zoom with the client, and I was like, oh, just give me a moment. I'm just feeling a little bit unwell. Just give me a moment. So I opened my window. I thought a bit of fresh air would help. I put my head between my legs, came back up, and we kind of started talking again. And I was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna have to stop our session here because I'm really not feeling very well. Because my heart was just pounding. She was like, oh my God, I hope you're not having a heart attack. Are you okay? And I was like, I'm sure I'm fine. I'm sure I'm fine. Meanwhile, I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. I literally thought I was having a heart attack on the call with my client. I mean, and being British, I was just mortified that I thought, oh my God, how embarrassing. Like I'm having a heart attack on the phone with my I mean, honestly. So anyway, I got off the call. My husband was downstairs. I went into the bedroom and I thought I'll just lay down for a half an hour and just relax. I'm sure I'll be fine. Anyway, my heart, and it was literally, so it was beating that hard that I could see it beating in my legs. My legs were going boom, 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 boom. My clothes were going, my hair was going, like my whole body was vibrating with my heartbeat, literally like boom, 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 boom. The weird thing was I could breathe normally. I wasn't breathless and I was in no pain or anything. Just my heart was beating like clappers, as they say here in the UK. So I went and sat in my bedroom for a little bit. It wasn't calming down. Went downstairs and said to my husband, I think there's something wrong. My heart's beating really, really fast. I feel okay. I'm not breathless, but my heart is really beating. So he felt it and he was like, gosh, it is really beating. So he Googled it, Dr. Google. And the first thing he found was this thing called SVT, which is supraventricular tachycardia, which basically means that your heart suddenly gets powered by the wrong electrical circuit and starts beating really fast. And what he read was that you can, if you cough or put cold water on your face, it can kind of shock your heart back into the right rhythm. So anyway, I put frozen peas on my face and I was like coughing and nothing was working. And then he read, if it goes on for more than half an hour, go to the hospital. And it had already been going on for about 40 minutes. So I went to the hospital, walked in, and obviously the ER was really full. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm literally going to die of a heart attack here in the waiting room. That's literally how I thought I was having a heart attack and dying. Went to the lady and said, I'm in tachycardia. I think it's supraventricular tachycardia. My heart's been beating incredibly fast for about 45 minutes. She said, how are you going to feel? How do you feel? And I said, I feel sick and like I'm going to faint. And she instantly rushed me through. Anyway, long story short, I was in the ER for a long time, but long story short, it was this supraventricular tachycardia. They managed to get my heart back into a normal rhythm. It spiked at 240, I think it was, or 270 beats a minute, which is insane. I'm on beta blockers now, so to just kind of, regulate my heart. They basically did loads of tests and couldn't figure out why it happened. First thing they said to me though was, have you drunken a lot of energy drinks today? And I don't drink energy drinks. Have you had a lot of caffeine? I don't really drink caffeine. Have you taken any drugs? No, I haven't taken any drugs. But those are the things they asked me, thinking it was something to do with that. And ultimately what it was, and I know what it was I was hyper stressed. I was hyper exhausted. It was a burnout. It was another burnout. After that burnout, I realized that being fully booked wasn't for me. I didn't want to have a calendar full of clients all the time where I felt like my time wasn't my own and I couldn't stop. So I knew that had to change, but also I knew I had to give myself time to rest. So I took 3 full weeks off away from my business completely, cancelled, rescheduled all my client stuff, stepped away entirely. For 3 full weeks, I just completely rested. And now, what was interesting though was straight after that happened, and the first day I was resting, I was literally so tightly wound. Oh, I had CT scans on my brain because I'd lost my abilities. But I had so many tests. Nothing physically was wrong with me. It was literally burnout. Okay, so that's how scary the implications of burnout can be, right? I literally thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke or a brain hemorrhage. I don't know, but I thought I was dying. Literally in that hospital room that night, I nearly said to Jason, "I love you, take care of the cats," because I literally thought that was going to be it. But I didn't want to panic him by saying it, making him think I was thinking I was dying, but I did think I was dying. And then when I was the first few days of recovery, I remember just thinking, I'm never going to recover. I don't know how to physically recover from this because everything just felt so tight. And I was just so tightly wound up, so like a coiled spring. I didn't know how to recover. But gradually over the next sort of few weeks, I found myself relaxing, resting, sleeping again, completely rescheduled all of my diary so that basically October, November, and December, I really cut back on all of my work. So I gave myself proper time to rest. But the big breakthrough there was I don't want to be a fully booked coach. One to many suits me just fine. So that was another huge, big breakthrough, which, and I'm grateful for those breakthroughs. I'm just not grateful for the burnouts. And I know both of my burnouts could have been avoided. What I would say to you is, be really mindful of and be really attentive to yourself. Like when you're feeling really overwhelmed, when, if you're having any of the physical symptoms that I described, if you're just exhausted all the time, if you're in fight or flight, if you're snappy all the time, if you're mentally exhausted, like those are warning signs your body is giving you that it is ready to give up, like something bad's going to happen. So you need to listen. And like I said, and that burnout that happened in September, even though I gave myself 3 full weeks off, I think it took me, like, it's literally just over a year ago it happened. I think it took me about 6 or 7 months to really recover from that burnout. So if you're sitting there thinking, yes, I'm feeling all of this, but I don't have time to heal myself because I'm too busy, it's going to take much longer to recover from a burnout than it is to avoid one. Trust me. I've been there. So what I would say to you is if you are feeling like you don't have time, maybe you've got a family as well and a business or, elderly relatives or, a career that's really demanding, your mental, physical and emotional well-being should always be a priority. And even if you think you don't have time to avoid burnout and to heal yourself, you 100% do. And I think part of it is about allowing yourself small little breaks throughout every single day. So here are some best practice ideas that I would offer to you if you're feeling in a stage of burnout, or if you're just someone who's really busy and you know that burnout is possible for you. Adopting some small little things that you can do regularly to just keep yourself regulated and in a calmer state will avoid any burnout. So the first thing I would say is sleep. Sleep, 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 sleep. Like we need 8 hours of sleep a night. So if you're not getting good sleep, that should be the very, very first thing that you tackle. Good sleep hygiene, good sleep routines, your bedroom, the temperature, the darkness of the room, the quietness of the environment you're sleeping in. If you're not sleeping, that should become your real focus, is making sure you're getting a good night's sleep. So some small things that I do is I have like a very specific sleep routine. I drink sleepy tea before I go to bed. I always journal before I go to sleep. So I'm getting all of my thoughts and all of that busyness outside of my head. I often use one of those sleep masks to, it's actually quite amazing when you put a sleep mask on and you get a bit of pressure behind on your eyes and your eyes are forced closed, you sleep actually a lot easier. And a couple of little tricks I've learned to clear the clutter in your brain is if you're going to bed and you've got that small talk insomnia, ask yourself, what will my next thought be? When you ask your brain that, it just suddenly goes really quiet. And another trick that I do is whatever comes to your mind. So I do this random word thing where I just, in my brain, I just say whatever random words come to mind, like hippopotamus, bluebells, wood, ginormous, monster, sky, sun, forest, trees, books, like whatever comes into your head, in your mind, just say the words because that again, it just lulls your brain and keeps your brain busy, but it's quiet busy. It's not thinking about all of the different things. So those are two things that really work for me. What is my next thought and the sort of random word game that I play. Those two things help me fall asleep. But also just a really simple tip is, when you first close your eyes to go to sleep, don't think about anything. For me, the minute I start thinking about anything, it's trouble. Just close your eyes, focus on your breathing, and just think, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And literally just focus on your breathing. Think about your breathing. Think about sleeping. If you need to say some words, say calm, sleep, relax, and you will fall asleep quicker and you'll probably stay asleep better as well. So if you start letting your brain take hold when you go to sleep, it can take hold. So sleep is the first thing. The next thing is hydration. So important. I think that eye hemorrhage was partly due to the fact that I was dehydrated at the time as well. So hydration, like I drink about 4 or 5 of these every single day. I have one next to my bed at night. Drinking enough water is so important for your body's general health and well-being. So sleep, drinking enough water, two very important things. The next thing I would say is exercise. But here's the thing. I think if you're a woman, menopausal woman who is struggling with high levels of stress, you need to do everything you can to keep your cortisol levels balanced and regulated. So doing high intensity cardio or high intensity weight training, which by the way is what I was doing last year. I was on a massive health kick. I was doing weight training 5 times a week. I was being really hard on myself physically as well as everything else. And I think that contributed actually to my burnout. So actually since then, I've done no proper exercise. Like I say, proper exercise. I've gone on walks and I've done things that are more gentle, a bit of yoga, a bit of Pilates, exercise, but be mindful about the kind of exercise you're doing. You don't want to be spiking your cortisol levels. You want everything to be nice and balanced. I mean, getting out for a walk every day, 6,000 steps every day outside is the tonic for the soul that you definitely need. Getting outside in general, I think, is very healing. Part of your morning routine, if you can go outside, face your face to the sky while you're having your cup of tea or whatever it is. But yeah, gentle exercise, I think, is really the key. Don't push yourself physically. So like I say, walking, yoga, Pilates, things like that. The other thing that I did is I bought myself a rebounder, which is the mini trampoline, and I jump on that for 5 minutes on a morning. Not only does it give me a good lymphatic drainage, but it really ups my endorphins and makes me feel really good, but it's not high intensity where my cortisol levels are spiked, and then I'm dealing with that for the rest of the day. So exercise, but be mindful about the type of exercise you're doing. Gentle exercise. I mentioned journaling already. Having a gratitude practice in the morning, having a to-do list for the day, journaling on an evening, basically getting what's in here out and onto a piece of paper is one of the most therapeutic things that you can do. And then what I would say is just generally build time into your schedule to have little time out, like have a little break, but don't sit in front of your computer, don't watch YouTube, don't watch TV. Just go and sit downstairs with a cup of tea and just give yourself 10 minutes of nothing. This is something that I think we don't do often enough, is to just have nothing. So don't listen to anything, don't read anything, just sit. Both burnouts that I've recovered from took me sitting in peace with nothing going on, for my body to really start to come back down to earth. So when you're taking a break and you're sitting with your coffee or your tea and your biscuits or whatever it is that makes you feel nice and cozy, or hot chocolate, just sit in your comfiest chair and just nothing. Have 10 minutes of nothing a day. You'll find it so healing, so healing. The other thing I would say is deep rest, and that goes to what I've just been saying about 10 minutes of nothing. We can think that we're resting when we're watching TV, listening to a podcast, reading a book. That's not resting. Deep rest is when you're really just resting and not doing anything and completely shutting off all external stimuli and allowing your whole being to just find its level again. So whether you go and sit in a forest and just sit and listen to nature, or by a stream, or in your favorite comfy chair, whatever it is, your body needs daily deep rest. 10 minutes of nothing, right? 10 minutes of nothing, that's all it takes. So even if you feel like you don't have the time to take 3 weeks off, it might not be that you need 3 weeks off. If you can take 3 weeks off, obviously that'd be amazing. But just incorporate little things into your every single day to just help regulate your body, regulate your nervous system, keep your cortisol levels low, and take care of yourself. Eat really nice food, nourishing, good, healthy food, drink lots of water, get more sleep, and give yourself those periods of rest during the day, and no intense exercise. So if you can relate to any of this, let me know in the chat if you've had a burnout, what lessons you've learned from it, your top tips for avoiding a burnout, for recovering from burnout. Let me know. If there's anything specific you've got questions on, or any other video that you would like about this, I know I've tried to put quite a lot into one video here. Let me know. Ultimately, your physical, mental, and your general well-being, nothing is more important. Without it, there is literally nothing. You know, that job that I had, my business, it's nothing if you don't have your health. So prioritize it, give it the love, care, and attention that it needs. Avoid those burnouts. You don't need to have a burnout to have a breakthrough. I hope you found this video useful. I hope it's found who it needed to find today. Sending you so much love, and just know you are worthy of self-care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.